wonderful sweet babies. So today we're going to be talking about why no one likes DDG. So let me just quickly say this in the disclaimer. I'm actually a fan of DDG, but I noticed that a lot of people aren't. So with that being said, I'm just going to go off of a lot of unpopular opinions of things that I've seen that people have said about him. Also, if you guys are a fan of these types of videos, I'm very close to being monetized on the YT app. And when I am, I'm going to start putting all content like this over there. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe over there. So reason number one is that DDG is very arrogant. With him being very arrogant, he actually thinks that many people know him when in reality, no one really knows him like that. And instead of him, really trying to work on his craft and perfect his brand and be more known and well-versed, he actually gets upset when people don't know who he is. Because he feels like he's at this level in which, at this point in his career, people should honestly give him more grace and people should be knowing who he is by this time. Reason number two is his relationship with Blueface. A lot of people felt like because DDG was hanging around Blueface, he actually was like Blueface. In reality, he's not really like Blueface because, Blueface is, part of the blues. And DDG doesn't really rep none of that. But the thing is, it's the simple fact that he hangs with him and how, Blueface was treating women. And because of the reason of him being around Blueface and the factor of DDG dating who he was dating at that time, which we'll get to, it kind of made people look at him a little strange. So they heavily, disliked him because they were like, well, if Blueface treats women the way he treats women, then DDG does the same thing. Number three is people don't like that DDG says a bunch of out-of-pocket things on Twitter. So DDG at one point said this while he was in a relationship with Holly. The P word be way better when it's stinking. A lot of people definitely speculated that he was talking about Holly at this point in time because they were dating. So at this moment, people were looking to themselves like, well, if the only person that you're dating is Holly and you're talking about some P words stinking, then you're trying to say Holly stank. People kept trying to get a clarification out of him in regards to this because it just didn't make any sense that he said this in the first place. And he assured people that he was not talking about Holly. Number four is people actually dislike his fan base. So when people were a part of the whole YouTube saga with DDG, a lot of people didn't like his fan base because his fan base would go extra hard for him. It was almost like during this era, like nobody could say anything about him or else his fans would go and kind of, just be really mean to them. So because of that very reason, a lot of people disliked him because they noticed that his fan base was out of control. Number five on this list is his relationship with Rubi Rose. So with this relationship that he had with Rubi Rose, it rubbed people the wrong way simply because he was, on again and off again with her, as well as being very disrespectful while he was in a relationship with her. Which brings us back to this whole situation with him being friends with Blueface. So we know that Blueface was being, the way he was being with Krishan. So a lot of people speculated that, this kind of behavior was rubbing off on DDG. Because the way that he was with Rubi, he was being very disrespectful, just like how Blueface was. So for this very reason, a lot of people disliked the way that he was with her. And then it took it up a step notch when he actually started dating Holly after. So this really rubbed people the wrong way because it was kind of like he didn't really give himself a break or any kind of, notion of switching over. It was kind of like after this whole on again, off again situation with Rubi, he then went straight on to Holly. Which then actually ties us into reason number six. So reason number six is that he actually tried to cheat on Holly Bailey with Rubi Rose. This was actually when DDG and Holly were fully, developed in their relationship. And the whole world had known for them to be together. This was kind of like the first raft that we seen within their relationship. And during this time, it was like DDG and Holly had a disagreement. Within that disagreement, I'm assuming that the both of them actually took a break from each other, and that's when DDG hit up Rubi Rose. So of course, to the world, it looked a little bit funny. And, it probably was a funny situation. But at this time, DDG tried to assure people that nothing was going on between him and Rubi, but, of course, Rubi had receipts. So this then actually put us in an awkward situation with their relationship, and this is when DDG started to get the most dislike out of the world. Specifically from women of color if we're being exact. Because from the outside looking in, it actually looked like, a crazy situation was happening and Holly was just being a desperate woman that was going hard up for a man. So reason number 7 is that he gets out of relationship with girls and then immediately starts filming with other girls. So immediately after breaking up with Holly, he actually started filming with 3 different girls in the course of 1 week. So the videos that he made with these girls was him and Winter Blanco, him and Angel Reese, and him and Anna Mac. Now, of course, DDG isn't dating all of these girls, but it's just the subliminal, as well as the principle of it all. And it's like, we can't really get mad at the girl. We gotta just keep DDG accountable for this situation. Because it's like, at the end of the day, he kind of knows how this is being perceived. And to act on that perception, he's just continuing to keep it going because he wants to be the topic of conversation. And I feel like he's thriving at this point of himself being the bad guy at this moment. It also kind of seems like he needs a female in his videos to thrive and be successful. Reason number 8 is it actually seemed like when DDG was in a relationship with Holly Bailey, he was using it as an opportunistic relationship. So a lot of people were speculating that DDG was with Holly due to the fact that he needed, an extra boost in his music career. And we're not going to sit here and lie. When DDG was with Holly Bailey, he was going to, dinners with Beyonce and Jay-Z. He was being invited to birthday parties with Offset and Cardi B. He was able to pretty much get, into all these different events for the low because he was with Holly Bailey. And it was almost like, he was actually getting a push in his music career as well as being more relevant and more seen. And a lot of more people knew who he was because of his relationship with Holly Bailey. If anything, he actually admitted in this Breakfast Club interview that he actually was getting more of a boost into his career because of his, relevance with being with Holly Bailey. So a lot of people then debunked it as he's using this relationship as an opportunistic, opportunity to get into doors that he's never been into before. He had even stated that, when he was in relationships with girls previously, he was usually the one that came in and was the more relevant one and the more well-known one. But then when he got with Holly Bailey, things had changed, and it was kind of like no one really knew him, and he didn't really have as much pull as she did. And then it also kind of seemed as if he was giving jealous. So that's like a little bonus one as to why people don't really like DDG, because they kind of feel like maybe he was a little bit jealous of the fact that Holly had a little bit more going on for herself than he did. And when you're a man that is used to those kinds of things, you can kind of act out because you're a little bit in your girl's shadow and you want to be the one that is the provider, not her. Not saying that, DDG's not a provider, just saying that from the outside looking in, this is how people are perceiving it. So number 9 on the list is that DDG actually made Holly Bailey a baby mama. I feel like this actually really pivoted to DDG being extremely disliked by a lot of women. A lot of women of color, to be specific. I feel like a lot of women were just looking at Holly Bailey as this beautiful princess and she was a Disney superstar and then she became a statistic. I feel like when it comes to Holly Bailey, a lot of people felt like she was their little sister. And it felt like a letdown that their little sister was actually, deemed this baby mother by this YouTuber / rapper, but very much known as a YouTuber. And it was almost like a lot of women were like, this has to be a prank because she could not be having a baby by this guy. Because a lot of women actually do think that DDG is a cornball. So they were upset that, out of all the guys that she could have had a child with, she chose him. Which actually brings us to our last one of our list, which is that DDG actually wants to make Holly Bailey a baby mama times how many ever times. He stated on a recent YouTube video that he actually would not like to have a baby by anyone else but Holly Bailey. He stated that he would like to just have one baby mother rather than multiple baby mothers. And then he stated that he would actually like to have a child again, maybe within the next 2 years or so. Which this is actually insane because he's still not talking about marrying Holly Bailey. If anything, him and Holly Bailey aren't even in a relationship as of current. So it kind of seems like at this moment, he's stating that he's not even in a relationship with Holly Bailey, but yet he's going to give her another child and get back in her good graces somehow without making her his wife. Because that wasn't anything that he actually mentioned. So here's my thoughts. Although DDG has had some pretty crazy moments, and the world truly dislikes him based off of how he is with Holly Bailey and his corniness, I don't think that he's a bad guy. And I honestly think that him and Holly will work it out. I think DDG should continue to keep doing him and not listen to the haters. But that's my opinion. What's yours?